Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. Today we have Kelly and Michelle Hardy from North Carolina, and I was just commenting how, for those of you who are going to watch on YouTube, how beautiful their backdrop is and how a luscious green North Carolina is right now. And I'm guessing y'all didn't get hit by that hurricane that just rolled up the coast, did it? It kind of skipped over y'all, right?
Right, sir. Yes, sir. Hit down at the coast, and we're up in the mountains of North Carolina, right where Virginia.
There you go.
You
Oh,
just get to watch the show then.
Yes, sir. Yeah, exactly. We got some friends that were down there sending us some pretty wild videos of that wind and rain.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, thanks for taking time out this morning. I really appreciate it. So Kelly and Michelle, just to give you a quick backdrop, Kelly and Michelle are founders and owners of Moe's Boots, a retail shop in North Carolina, Boone, North Carolina. And what it's just awesome to see a mom and pop shop that is still kicking it with all the big box and how big box stores have taken over almost all retail, either online or in person, the Costco's, Walmarts, and all these super center sort of things, that we still got a go-to spot. Now it's a bit of a drive for me, but that's okay. Go-to spot to buy quality stuff and talk to people that
Right.
are part of the neighborhood. And welcome to the show, guys. It's really great to have y'all.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Yeah, well, what I would like to jump into is why retail. I know you both kind of had a little bit of an entrepreneur upbringing, but why retail? What is it about retail that excites you?
Yeah, so my parents have been in the retail side of things since back in the 70s doing their own things. And then I grew up obviously in that, always had a job with them. I joked that my first job was in the third grade selling candy out of my book bag to my classmates, buying it wholesale from mom and selling it. So yeah, we just love retail, love people, and just got started back in 2005. One location, then added a second location in 2012. And so Michelle and I split that. She works at one store in West Jefferson, and then I am typically at the Boone location.
That's great. So what is you said you love retail. What is it? I mean, what's that thing that makes it so exciting? And I know loving people is part of it, which is really cool. But
I think it really is the people. And, like we have people that come in every year to get their boots, and we know them and we know their families and we know what kind of work they do. We probably even know their shoe size at this point. So it's just like extending your family to a whole lot of other people.
That's beautiful. You know what I'm thinking? Cheers, right? You're the Cheers of boot sales and work gear, right? Is that a good way of putting it? Gear.
Yeah, it's amazing how many times she or I are out at Lowe's or the grocery store, Ingles, whatever, and people are like, "Hey, the boot guy, what's up, boot?" Or boot gal, or whatever. They just recognize us as being the providers for the boots and outdoor gear here.
Wow. So I wanted to get into this. I know we were talking about it beforehand in the green room, as you call it, Dad. With what kind of impact have you guys had during the COVID pandemic, and what kind of pivots or adjustments have y'all made to keep afloat?
Yeah, so what we did, so obviously we requested essential status from our governor right when this happened, and we were granted that at both locations because we provide for the guys that were still out there working, the nurses, the firemen, the police and things. So for about a month, we did by appointment only, get those people to call in, set up a time. Conversion rate was super high at that point because we were pretty well filtering, making sure we had what they needed before they came in. And so we did that for a few weeks, and then we went to a little gradually open a little more hours, and now we're pretty well back full bore for the last 60 days. We have definitely seen some inventory issues that we've had to back up and adjust from and switch some dollars from this company to this brand because of availability.
Do you think, were you impacted more on kind of that supply chain type side of it? Because it seems like as far as actual business operations, you're able to pivot pretty well and keep that going.
Right. So I don't think we're to that yet. I think we'll experience most of that in the fall. Right now, we experienced some loss in sales for a couple months. And then the last, June and July have been really high for us, our 2 strongest months ever. So we're gaining more of that sales back. Now we're starting to hear from the brands, we missed production for 3 or 6 months. So your September and October orders may only get fulfilled to 60 or 70%. So we haven't hit the production side of it yet. I do think we're going to experience that in the next, 3 to 6 months.
That's one of those second and third order effects that everybody jokes about the whole toilet paper and hand sanitizer thing, right? But that's not really the other end of the supply chain. And I think that's something that, it hit me in the face a couple of weeks ago. I planted some trees, and I got to keep the deer from eating the brand new trees, right? So I wanted to put up a fence around the trees, and there's no fencing material. And it's like, all right, I know I'm not, there hadn't been a run on fencing, but what it is that supply chain. So
Right.
how are y'all setting yourself up for that, that likely gap in supply?
Yeah. So one of the things we have been fortunate in our growth as we've grown throughout the years is we take advantage of a lot of the early season buying programs with our brands that they offer. So right now, I probably have 2 months supply of most of my footwear because I purchased so heavy up front, not because of COVID, but that's just my mentality is I like to get my stuff early and have it ready before the season. So this year, I think is really going to pay off for me where I already have a lot of that stock. I'm going to be lower than I normally am at the year end, but I'm going to be very heavily stocked right now because of my purchasing power and our buying up front that we've been able to do for many years.
Do you feel, here's me, I'm thinking right now, and if I'm sitting in your shoes and, every year up till now, I've always had 6 of these on my shelf. And now I've only got 2. How's that making you feel right now?
It does make you a little bit nervous. And we are fortunate that we have so many different contacts and so many different companies. So where it may not be exactly what we wanted, we can get it. It just may be a little bit different than what we wanted to begin.
Okay. All right. So if I'm coming in and I want, Carhartt model 421 size 11, I may not get 421, but I can get 489 or something.
Right. Another color code or something. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then we've been very blessed in our growth throughout the years. We're the top account for 3 or 4 of our brands. And so when you are in that shoe, you do get a little special treatment, almost like in that we were hearing some of this from our guys immediately, and they went in and bulked up some of our orders and some of our constant sellers that we fill in often and helped us kind of gather more inventory for that, during this pandemic. So again, we feel pretty good where we're sitting right now.
Well, I think kind of.
Oh, Camden, we just lost you there. There, you're back.
Okay, I was going to say, like we were talking with the second and third order effects of things, I thought it was really interesting. I wasn't necessarily thinking of y'all's company as essential. And then you point out how obvious it is. Well, we're supplying workwear. We're giving work boots out to the guys and gals who are out there still working. So I thought that was really interesting because you kind of have this built-in niche that's going to, would you call it a niche technically? But it's going to be there. That's the nice thing is that y'all are able to make these adjustments with your market that is pretty much there. And especially going back to the retail side, because you have those sales relationship. Where else, that makes it sound bad. Where else are they going to go? Because y'all have the boots, their shoe size already, and you're going to have it there and you're going to have it right for them. And I think that's an interesting side of things because when you talk about it, as far as getting, we all talk about generating demand or taking control of a market share or anything like that. What y'all have done really is, one, like you just said, you are a large account for a lot of your suppliers. And then on top of that, because you're the mom and pop store, you're still able to have those personal relationships and get that consistent demand that you really need to go through these tough times. Because I'll tell you what, I have no faith to go to Walmart during this. I'm going and visiting my favorite Chinese restaurant and my favorite burrito place, but I'm got no faith to Walmart in this situation.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, exactly.
So I want to hit on something else that the you said it almost in passing, and I can hear it runs through, and I just know y'all well enough now to know that the love of people is a critical piece. And I think that's interesting. A lot of folks forget that goes both ways up and down the chain, right? And so how do you keep that relationship with your suppliers? Because, you know, yeah, I know being a number one sales is important, and that makes them happy, but there's got to be something else there.
Yeah. So a little quick background on mine is so when we started this business 2005, we operated and ran it. Well, I left for 2 years and became a traveling salesman to learn the other side of that. So I traveled from Delaware to Florida selling gear to stores just like mine all over the East Coast. So I built tons of relationships with other store owners, other people that I've got a little group message in that we chat back and forth throughout all this about what's going on and what we can all, you know, be doing during this time. Lost my train of thought there.
It happens to me all the time.
Goodness.
But yeah, so I mean I think that's a critical piece though. You learn you wore out the shoe leather being a salesman. So you learn the ropes that way, right? Old school. There's a throwback, right?
Right.
Not wearing out the shoe leather. But now because you've walked that line, you understand, you can relate to the suppliers and the clients, right?
Right. And I've interviewed for multiple positions with these boot brands. So I not only know my boot rep that I'm working with at Danner, but I know his boss and I know the president of the company because I interviewed for it and I went to know them. So, and I've always been a person, I'm not afraid to call anybody. If I had President Trump's number and I need to tell him something, I would not be afraid. My wife's like, you just call anybody? I'm like, I've got their information. You don't give me your information unless you want me to utilize it. So I will call those people up the chain and really, you know, not be afraid to ask for something, not be afraid to ask for help, not be afraid to tell where my situation is and what I'm seeing out here. You don't know what people are feeling and seeing unless you exchange that information and tell them, you know.
You know, I think it's interesting because it's something that you seem to have done, whether it was consciously or just naturally, because of your personality. And you talk about connecting with these folks and different things. It reminds me, it goes back to one of the leadership lessons that nothing's below your pay grade, right? And you want to be involved at all levels of things because that's how you understand how a business operates. And I think that you can apply that outside your business. So we generally talk about that in the context of making sure you know how everything operates inside your business. You know, you want to make sure you understand what the cashiers are doing at Moe's Boots. You don't want to miss out on all of that because then you might manage wrong or whatever. But the other side of that goes outside your company and to those suppliers and to people you're selling to, and really understanding the second and third order effects, going back to that are going on out there. Because then when something crazy like COVID happens, you're able to make those adjustments. You have those relationships that you can leverage to continue to be successful and to keep your business afloat.
Exactly right.
So family is a huge part of what y'all do. And I remember when we first met, we were talking about your team members. So I'm curious what you've done, you know, with the COVID curve going on, what you've done to help them, your team members and your family. We'll talk about your family in a minute, but your team members to keep them, you know, upbeat, if you will.
I think that Kelly's really good at communication. So right at the very beginning, he was asking all of our staff, you know, how do you feel about this? Are you feeling confident? Do you feel like you need to take a day or two off? You know, what are your concerns? Do you have health concerns? Do you have your family concerns? And I think that just, you know, breaking it down and finding out how they feel so you can, you know, relate and do what you need to do to make them feel the best in the situation is kind of how, you know, everything's kind of worked together.
Well, it goes back to your very beginning. So when you started the store and you had your first hire, how did you set that precedence? I mean, did you is this something you learned from mom and dad or?
Definitely. Yeah. So definitely. So mom and dad, so my parents are still involved in the business. My mom does all the bookkeeping and the financial side of that. And then my dad still has his own retail store. He's in high-end cigars and got a humidor and things like that. He still operates and does. So I definitely learned a lot of our business knowledge and how to do things and how to treat people. That came definitely from my mom and dad is, you treat people the way you want to be treated, and you treat them fairly. And you're like you said earlier, there's nothing that Mo's Boots that I've not done, and there's nothing at Mo's Boots that I will not ever not do again. I'm not afraid to get in there and do anything that needs to be done to get it float, because there was a time when it was just me. I was doing the ordering, the buying, the selling, the stocking. I mean, it was a one-man crew when we first got started. But yeah, then when we hire people, and something I'm learning, and we're changing some things from the leadership conference that we attended together and got to know each other, is we learned a lot of things that I am going to implement with our company to better our future. But people, right? You got to take care of your people. You got to hire right people. And we definitely have some thoroughbreds in our stable on our team. And we want to take care of them and want to continue to add more thoroughbreds, to our team. But it's how you treat people. We pay way above what normal retail folks pay, definitely, because we require a little bit more. We demand a little bit more out of you. We expect a little bit more out of our folks because we start them, a lot higher than most places do around here. Because we know we have a good product, we know we have a good place to work, and we know that we want to hire the right family members to continue the growth.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. When you set that precedent, whether it's literally, I think that's an interesting part, because you'll hear a lot of companies will talk about trying to set the culture and all those type of things. But you don't hear them say that much is we pay a high level because we expect a high level. And I think that's a really simple side of the business that you can really implement with that. That if you want these high level employees who are going to perform at a high level and commit to your culture, then maybe you want to bump up that paycheck a little bit, so you're not just getting Joe Schmo off the street who just needs a quick paycheck. He's in there for the long run of things. It reminds me of my favorite, one of my favorite stories. And I almost said Zillow. That's not the company, because that's houses. What's the shoe company? Zillow. Something sounds like Zillow. What is it?
Zappos.
There we go. One of my favorite company stories, because they offer you 6 months paycheck when you finish training to quit your job. Because if you're there for the money, then you're there for the wrong reasons. Now, to your point, they still pay you good, but if you're there for the money, you're not there for the right reasons. That doesn't fit with their culture. So you don't have to have quite that creative solution. Maybe just bump that paycheck up a little bit, right?
Right. Exactly. And we, some other things we do, I know Otis was talking about, we had our trailer sale this past weekend, and that's a big deal for us. We alleviate all of our old inventory that way. We take stuff that's discontinued or old in the store, and we put it out in our trailer in a tent event, and we market at half price. And people buy it like crazy, stock up for Christmas and whatnot. But on those days, we, most people don't do anything extra, but we buy all their breakfast, all their lunch. We provide water for them, all just small things. And they always come back and say, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to give us breakfast and lunch every day. But, man, we appreciate that because we're working hard. We don't normally work 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at a retail store, but we did for 2 days, and I'm tired, but man, I'm fed and I feel good, and I feel proud of the stuff we accomplished this weekend.
That's great. And I love, people forget about that. It's just the little things you got to do that make the difference. You don't have to pack everybody up and, fly the whole team to Hawaii for a week every year and things like that. Although, that's nice if you're doing that, count me in. But you can do that little thing. And as a business owner, and understanding cash flow and all those sort of things, that is such a small little bit of change to keep high quality people, your thoroughbreds, on your team. And I just want to go back, because I love that theme, and it's one of my big favorite things to talk about, building that team. And I know you and I have had that conversation already once before, but where do you find these folks? Because just giving them $5 more than minimum wage doesn't equate to high performers. So how do you know, where do you find them? How do you bring them into the team?
The funny thing is we never advertise a job. We have never one time advertised that we need help. So, you know, our customers come in and that's how we meet a lot of our staff. It's like their children or, you know, their sister or even them. That's where they come from.
I have a young girl that works for me now. She's 16. I grew up with her dad. Her dad and I were good friends in high school. When she was 8, she'd come in the store and shop with dad. And I said, now when you turn 16, you're going to come work for me because I know your dad and you've got a great personality. She grew up. I saw her in the store, 13, 14. She's like, I'm getting close. At 16, she came in. She said, hey, are you serious about hiring me? I said, yeah, let's go. Get started. One of my favorite cashiers. She's been with me 6, 8 months now. She's a great young worker. She gets tired of me preaching the Dave Ramsey Save program to her, but I am on my young kids to start now and save. So yeah, that is how we find a lot of our staff. There's a big chain that has 11 stores. Oh, can you see me? Did we lose you? There we go.
No, we're
There we go.
Has 11 stores in the area. And they're corporate and they go corporate. And so they make these changes and rules and people get mad. We've gotten a couple ladies that have come from that and said, hey, I'm tired of the corporate world. I like your business. We're very similar to what we do. And one lady's been with us now 6 years after being 20 plus years with that organization. And she just calls it home. You know, we're a lot more hands-on and more family oriented than the corporation where they're just looking at the bottom dollar.
You know, I think one interesting piece of that, so we've talked about this a few times before, Dad, is when you talk about like selection process and those type of things, you kind of we talked a lot about the self-selection side of it. You select out of things, you select into other things. But what I think is interesting is when you talk about employees this way, what y'all are saying is that basically by eliminating the ad process, where you're going out and trying to bring people in, then what you wind up with is the people that are going to self-select in are the people who are way more likely to be the good employees, because they're the ones who are going to seek you out. They're the ones who already know you, already wear your boots, whatever it is, and then they know what culture they're getting into. So you kind of, I mean, whether you've thought about it or not, have created a really smart system with that to eliminate a lot of that, dead weight. It's a little aggressive, but
yeah, I see what you're saying for sure. Yes.
And
so I'll ask then, was that something that was a conscious effort, or is that something that just, because it seems like a lot of what you seem to be doing really right is almost just hardwired in your personality, which it works with a lot of entrepreneurs. I've met lots of folks like that.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit hardwired, and then I'll say it's a little bit of just seeing it from my family side of business and just seeing it myself. Did you have something to add?
What separates, our stores from just going online, buying a pair of boots, getting it delivered to your door? The thing that separates us is our customer service.
Mm-hmm.
They know that when they come in and get the boots, we're going to ask about their kids. They know if they have any questions, they're going to ask us. We can explain things to them. And our people are what makes that possible. Without all of our staff being the way that they are, then you might as well just order your boot online.
I got to throw this out to change the subject a little bit, because I'm laughing over here to myself as a dog owner and as a proud dog dad, that one of the simplest things you can do for your business, if you want to, especially a small business, but even fast food chains, just give out dog treats to the folks that have dogs, and you will have my business forever. It's so easy. I go to the Ace Hardware down the store, pay a few dollars more for everything that's there compared to the Home Depot, but they know my dog by name and they give him 2 treats every time. And
I love it.
You got my business.
I love it. And at our store, we have 2 dogs. Both have been with me. One is 15 years old. He started as soon as we did. And then I traded a pair of boots for a golden retriever 9 years ago. And she is in our store every day. And literally we have people stop by just to see the dogs, interact with the dogs that their kids play, and then they go on about their day. So it is an atmosphere that we've created. My parents have been an incredible, obviously, support system and job for teaching me that and showing me how to do that. But yeah, we're very fortunate in what we do. We always say we're very blessed, but we work extremely hard and have been very aggressive about how we do this. 2005, when we started, there was 2 of us, me and Mom, and right now we have 13 members on our payroll, operating the 2 locations.
Wow.
So how much are you with your kids? the grown ones and the little ones, how much involvement do they have in the store, if you will, in the family business, to keep it a family business?
Right. So Michelle had 2 kids prior to her and I getting married and together. And so her oldest son, Thomas, he worked for us for a couple years, during high school and after high school. Then he's went on and got his welding certificate, and he is making big boy money being a welder, tradesman here in our local area.
Yep. I know. We were both cheering when Mike Rowe was talking about that.
Yes, exactly. And then, we and I discussed this. We also want a big part of what we do and our give back and our love is fostering. And so we currently have 4 foster children in our home. Let me take it back. We have 2 foster children and 2 that we've adopted through the foster system. And they're all 9 and under, so they don't typically work there. But boy, when Dad goes at night and has some stuff to do, they are first ones to be.
They're making shoes in the back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They got the little hands. It's perfect for them.
They really love to go work and carry, and they see the work ethic, and I am proud of that they know that when they go to work, they go to work. We don't go to just hang out and chat. We've got stuff we got to get done, and we've got an agenda. And so even at 9 and 6, they can go and we can work them hard, and they can feel proud of the accomplishments there.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I want to say it's Proverbs, but train your children well, or it's either Proverbs or a country song. I don't. One of those.
Probably both.
Yeah, but there's a lot to be said for that. It's the come here, let me show you that, and let me teach you, and do this work because look what it does, and
right.
That's great. So how with the little ones, 6 and 9, right? So that must keep things hopping around the old Hardy household too, huh?
We are very busy.
Here's a quick story. So you mentioned earlier you went out to get your fencing for your tree. Well, during this pandemic, right, we had to shut one of the stores down. So one of our stores is in Boone. It's in a shopping mall center, and the other one's in West Jefferson, a little downtown, where people flow and come in groups. Well, almost everything in the downtown area completely shut down. Mm-hmm. So we opted for that store to close for a few weeks just because one store open in a town, you're probably not going to, it wasn't going to be profitable or wasn't going to be a smart move, we thought. So, and our stores are only 30 minutes apart. So the people that were working in that county called and made appointments and met at our other store. And we would do some appointments down there at night. But during that pandemic, we thought, oh, she got some free time, right? What's free time? So you can't see it down here, but just below us here, we have went and bought a bunch of fencing and fenced in this yard, and we have some goats now. So now we're goat farmers on the side. No, but that is another thing we want to do for the boys because responsibility. So they clean the stalls, they feed the goats, they make sure the goats have water. And at 6 and 9, they are getting lessons that they, are going to last with them for a long time, understanding responsibility, getting up at 7 a.m. and getting down there and getting started. So
and they feel so good about it. Like they're so proud. Whenever they work in the garden or work with the goats, then everybody they talk to that day, they want to tell how hard they worked and what they accomplished. And that's so great.
And that they made $1.
Yes.
Oh, I have to bounce on that, Dad, because that reminds me of a great parenting story from you. Back around my freshman year of high school, somewhere around there, where we were driving back from our grandparents' house, and he basically just turns around and says, "Boy, what are you going to do when you graduate high school?" I don't know. And a week or two later, I went, you know what? I like Uncle Ben. I kind of want to be a farmer. And he goes, okay, and ships me down to Texas in the middle of July. And I spend a month down there sweating in the sun, running the dairy, running the cattle and everything, and feeding the chickens and all that kind of stuff. But I can vouch for everything you're saying there, where it was some of the hardest work I've done for the longest days. I wasn't even getting paid for it. I was getting room and board, but I mean,
right.
And I was down there for
Lucky
a month.
to get that.
Exactly. I was down there for a month in the middle of July in Texas. And I mean, I loved every second of it though. And you learn so much from that. And I think that's something, whether it's just a small goat farm in the back or whatever it is, that type of responsibility, it's a great way to teach it.
It's a great responsibility for all children, but especially these foster children that come in, because their histories and their backgrounds are some of the most unimaginable things you can think of. And so for them to know that they are needed, right? Not only are they loved, but they're needed to do this job, and they're needed to be here to do this. And they, go ahead, you want to?
Well, no, they thrive on that, you know, like it gives them purpose, and then it gives them confidence, because a lot of times whenever a child has been pulled from, you know, one home or two homes or three homes, then they're not very confident in themselves, and they think, well, something's wrong because, you know, nobody can get it together for me. I'm not that important. But when you give them a job to do and they can feel good about that, it raises their self-esteem and their confidence, and they, you know, they know that they're important.
Purpose.
I think that I love that, just like the idea of, you know, just to take the example again of the goats, and to know that because that animal needs me, how that can kind of give you that sense of fulfillment. I think that's really important. It reminds me a lot of we talk about it a lot. If you want to be happier, easiest way to be happier is to give back to people and to be connected in your community. And because we're social creatures, if you go out and you start a nonprofit, or if you're retail and you're talking with folks all the time, you're feeling connected to your community, and that can be big. But you can get the same type of thing out of the animals and stuff, because it's that need, that connection, that I have to take care of this. This is my responsibility. And once you start wrapping your head around that, it can do a lot for you. And I think that goes beyond just the examples we're talking about now. I know I've used it in coaching. I know you said it to me, Dad, back when you were coaching in high school, of just, hey, I need you to be better. And the idea that somebody needs me to be better, it's a very different thing than sitting at yourself like, oh, I wish I played better at rugby. I wish I was better. No. Coach came over and said, I need you to be better.
Right.
And that's that flip, to flip the switch mentally. I think it's so huge. And I love how y'all are doing that on a very different level. It's awesome.
Well, I want to ask you a leadership question now. And really I want y'all to separate it too, because I want to know what Michelle's leadership superpower go-to thing is, and Kelly, what's yours? So Michelle, you get to go first on this one, please.
What is my go-to superpower? I think that I just relate to the people that I'm working with. You know, I grew up a lot different than Kelly. So I grew up really, like, we were pretty poor. And so my dad never just showed me something. He took me, put my hands on it, and like he taught me. So it wasn't, I'm going to tell you what to do. He taught me what to do so that I would never, ever have to ask again, and that I could teach other people how to do that. So I think that that's probably my thing, that I get in there and get my hands on it, and I'm right with you, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And whenever we're done, you're going to feel confident that you can do it. I think that's probably my thing.
Kelly, I want to hear yours, please.
I feel like mine is I try to be a positive person, and I try to pump people up, man. I try to have fun with work. I like to have a great time. We always get the work done, but I am an encourager and I like to, is going the right way? I like to make people feel good. You know, I've always had that. I put a smile on people's face. I put laughter on people's face. And I just like to leave people with that feeling of, you know, even my customers, I want them to leave feeling, not knowing that they spent $600, you know, because they leave feeling like they just made a best friend and had a great experience. And they do. And our products and our prices are great. But I do just try to empower people and create positive environments. And I try to make sure I tell all of my staff every day something they did right.
That's great. And you remind me of one of my favorite things I talk about when I'm coaching folks too, is the win-win, right? You know, that exchange, it's not a negotiation up or down, me giving, I want somebody to walk away feeling like they won, and I want to walk away feeling like I won. And that's
right.
When you have that exchange, that type of attitude with your clients and your team members and everybody like that, that's a powerful place to be. So good on you to do that. That win-win attitude is awesome.
I want to ask y'all, as you both went through with your leadership superpowers, as you put it, Dad. So how has that worked, like with the complementary skill sets for you two having different skills, obviously, in different backgrounds, as you know, relationship of being married, but then also as in the business partner sense? Because I think that's an interesting thing that you hear in the business partner sense, but you can extrapolate it pretty easily to other relationships of just wanting to have somebody that's good at things that you're not, and that type of thing. How has that worked out for y'all?
Um, it works out really good for us. We have always said since day one that we are a team. And so, you know, everybody's job is just as important as the other. You just have to do your job to the best of your ability. And I think that we're so good at that. Like if I know that he's going to be way better at something, then I let him take care of that, and vice versa, so that we, you know, just give it our very best. So maybe we don't have to repeat it over and over again.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to pull it from that side of things over to the business side, because when you have people that you're working together with, whether it's at home or at business,
Mhm.
and if they're better at something than you, then they can get it done faster. That goes back to our division of labor. Now get back to some old economics. But
Yeah.
when you get into that kind of stuff, that's what complementary skill sets are all about. And whether it's a business relationship or a marriage, you can
Mhm.
use that for you. You know, there's no reason for me to go out and, I thought I had a good example there for a second. I was going to do something around dishes, but you know what? Screw it. I'll go with it. It's better for my fiance to go be doing the dishes because she doesn't have a bulging disc in her lower back that she has to go lay down for an hour after she does them.
Mhm.
It just makes sense that way. You know, I can do things where I'm standing up straight. If I got to bend over a little, it's not my skill set anymore. And
Mhm.
just as simple as that, or if it's something more like what y'all are saying of different leadership strategies, you got to have these different things working together, those complementary skill sets.
Well, you tell Jessica I'm buying her an extension on the sink so that you can start. You won't have that
Hey,
excuse.
there's your innovation of the day, Dad.
There you go.
Build a little container to raise up your sink so everyone with bad back problems can keep doing dishes.
Let's take it to Shark Tank.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, I want to throw something out there, you know, because Camden's a young entrepreneur, and what advice would y'all give to an entrepreneur, somebody who wants to start a business?
Find something you're passionate about. That would be my number one thing. Find something, whatever it is. I was passionate about sales and helping people when I got into this, and now I'm extremely passionate about footwear and clothes and making sure. I love nothing more than a guy walks in and says, "Man, I've been to 13 boot stores and nobody can find anything to fit my foot." Boom. Challenge on. Here we go. You know, and I love when I put him in the first or second boot I find, because I've been doing this a long time and my knowledge and my expertise on these. And I put him in. He goes, "It just happened last week." I said, "Man, I can't. Nothing fits my foot." I said, "I got one for you." He said, "No way." 5 minutes later, he's putting on a pair of brand new boots, walking out, and he's never had a fit, you know, like that. So I would say find something you're passionate about, and then dive in 100%. Right? I'm one of those guys. I was a sports guy my whole life. 100% is probably not even where you need to be. You really need to be 100%, right? So I am always about give it your all, and then find something you're passionate about. And then community, find ways to give back to your community. Not tooting our horn here and stuff, but we do a lot of community stuff. House fires happen often, right? And those people lose everything. Well, our organizations know they can call Mo's Boots, and we're going to have a package ready in no time. We're going to have boots, pants, shirts, hats, gloves, whatever they need. And we just take care of those victims that way. For first few years, one of my favorite give backs we did was we would go to the grocery store. And this is one of those things where you don't want to be judgmental, but you have to be a little bit in these situations. And we would scout the stores and walk, and older people, we'd walk up behind, they'd be like, "We don't have enough money to get this ham this week we need," or something. We'd get in line behind them at the checkout, and I'd say, "I have a Mountain Dew in my hand," or something set up on the conveyor belt. And I said, "I left my wallet out in the car. Would you buy me a Mountain Dew?" And, you know, they're all so sweet and limited budget, and they'd always say yes. I say, "You know what? Just slide that on there, and I'll take the whole bill." And we would pay $800 or $1,000 a day when we'd go out and do that. And that just, gave back to the community. One lady I did that to, she still contacts me a couple times a year and tells that story and shares what a difference it made in her life. So and the whole that I told is just be passionate and then give back to your communities, because there's no faster way to build a business than to give back to your community.
What about you, Michelle? I mean, and you can give us the women's perspective too. That would, if it's any different.
Well, I think definitely it's find something that you're passionate about. I mean, there's like, you have to be able to sell your idea. You have to be so excited about your idea that you make other people excited. You know, it's contagious. And so I think that that's the main thing about whatever your idea is. If you are passionate enough about it and so excited about it, then other people would get on with that excitement. And if you don't know everything about it, find the person that does. You know, find the specialist in that field and get their advice. You know, talk to people. Don't be afraid to reach out to people who know what they're talking about. I think that's, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
you know.
No, I just want to wrap that one. The don't be afraid to ask for help, man. Do I see that so much, especially in the veteran world, where it's like, man, I slugged through this all my life. I slugged through it in the military, blah, blah, blah. I got to slug through it myself because I'm tough. You know, I'm pointing the finger at myself on that one too. But yeah, that's awesome. Great advice.
I was gonna say my version of that one. It's become a huge pet peeve of mine, especially in the business world, but with other folks too. And it's worse the younger you are, because I know you grew up with this technology, because I did. But people asking just real simple questions that you could spend 5 minutes on Google, like figuring that out. Like, I'm sorry, like that's not how you got your degree. You know, come on, they figure that out, guys. It's not that hard of a thing. You know, you got all this information in front of you, but you got to go out and just go look for it. Whether you're actually asking someone a question or you're just researching online, the answers are all out there somewhere. Someone else has done it before, probably.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to touch on when you're talking about following your passion, and I think this is because you're 100% right. Following your passion is the best thing you can do as an entrepreneur. But I think the sub level to that is making sure you understand what your passion is and defining it properly. So I got into agriculture, I got into farming, but I can tell you now, as much as I'm very passionate about agriculture, and I love farming, I love the system designs, the innovation, there's so much different stuff about it. But looking back on it, what I really loved was problem solving. And that's why I don't have a problem when I'm now working on a virtual events company that's doing fundraisers for nonprofits, or, you know, doing food waste systems instead of running an actual farm. Whatever it is, I'm just enjoying the problem solving side of it. So I think that's the caveat to that, is that you just got to understand what you're actually passionate about, because you can hit a lot of barriers in the road when you're an entrepreneur. And if you're following some false passion, then you're going to struggle with those barriers a lot more than if you're really just following what you know, you're being authentic to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. What's next? Sorry, I was taking notes. So by the way, what's next for Mo's Boots, man? Next, not necessarily, I don't mean when's the next sale. I mean, what's next?
The third location.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Out in Colorado Springs.
Right. I like it. So when we got into this business, I said that I wanted to be a dominant force in the footwear world. I had thought 10 to 20 stores or something was my initial dream. Getting into this and understanding that and workload, and also then understanding that just what we've been talking about is the passion, right? We possess that passion. We can put it into some of our staff members. But if you open 4, 5, 6, 7 stores, you've got to have this passion multiplied by that much, and you can only be at one place at one time. So I think I've lowered that down some. I do think I would like to have a couple other stores in strategic locations. Again, from my travels on the road, I saw lots of open pockets that are within a 90 to 100 mile radius of us that really we draw people from. But if we had a store there, we really maybe could hone in on that community a little more, you know, and continue what we're doing in our two native communities, I call it. My parents have always been They were born and raised in Boone, which is where our one store is. And then I was born and raised in West Jefferson, about 2 miles from our downtown store. So these are the two communities that our families have been intertwined in for our whole life. So going 90 miles away to another community would be a little bit of an adventure and challenge. But I do think that would be one of my goals, is to add a couple more stores and growth there. And then just want to continue the growth where we are at both of these locations. And one thing we haven't touched on that goes back to the essential side of it is we were super aggressive when we started this, and I have now 7 counties that I fully take care of all of their town workers, their police departments, their sheriff's departments. So those are the guys that we really were aggressive about in serving and building up that B2B type business. And so, again, we reached that out into Tennessee. I've got some accounts in Tennessee, some other counties down around us. So our name is spread now to this area where I feel like we could go in and kind of have some presence already built in those areas.
Yeah, that's a great point too. That is probably a key element of your success that we didn't touch on at all, is the fact that not only do you have a store, a brick and mortar retail store, but you've also got B2B contracts and the diversification of your business. So that's a huge thing that I think a lot of people forget. I mean, you're still staying in your core capabilities. Would you call that your core capabilities still?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So you're still in that core capabilities, but now you've diversified your business and really helped to, where it's not, it's summer retail season where everybody's buying their kit to get ready for hunting and winter and all that sort of stuff. Now you can kind of level out those valleys of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, Cam, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think that's one of those interesting things when you talk about just basic business strategy of understanding what you have to offer and going out and offering it like that.
Right.
If just because you're a retail store doesn't mean you can't be supplying it to the local police officers. Why not?
Right.
That's just another, it's not different for you. I'll use the other example I already name dropped Verby once, so I don't feel bad about it. But we came on just virtual fundraising. And then I went, this is no different than any event. Like I could do an event that's not a fundraiser. And so we stepped back and we went, for our tools, it's exactly the same. So open it up to that as well, because it doesn't change our business that much.
Right.
You have to be able to adapt and change like where you need to change. If you need to add a little something on to further your sales or to, further serve the community, then you just do that. You have to be, open to that.
And it helps to be it helps to be as connected as y'all are to the community to be able to feel that kind of pulse.
Right. In our small downtown West Jefferson store, there is no Belk, there is no JCPenney, there is no department store. So that is something we're probably going to look at next year, is adding that dress shirt and a dress pant and maybe some ties, because those people keep saying, man, they tell Michelle all the time, I have nowhere to get it, for a funeral popping up or something. I have nowhere to get a dress shirt or a nice pair of pants. Carhartt makes a somewhat of a khaki pant, but they want they want a dress pant with a shirt and stuff. So that's something we've heard for times, and now it's like we got to move toward that. We're not going to do it in both locations because our Boone store, man, we battle all kinds of stuff up there. But in this location, it's where it's a need for that community.
Mm-hmm. Start selling those cowboy suits.
Yeah.
I just bought 72 Dallas Cowboy hats, so I hope there's a lot of Cowboys fans out here. If not, I'll have to be sending you some out there.
We'll see how that first few weeks go whenever they start playing.
Right.
Some big old question marks there on our Cowboys.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, y'all, thanks for being with us and taking some time out of your day. Camden, is it your turn? Is it your turn to tell us what you learned today?
It sure is my turn. I paid attention this time.
Okay. So what'd you learn, Cam?
So I loved what y'all were talking about, the selection process, how you had basically gotten rid of the selection process to automate it. That if you don't go out looking for people, then you're not going to go pull people that are just looking for the paycheck. You're going to wind up naturally attracting the people who want to work with you, like your company culture, and are going to be a good fit for you. And I just love that. That's a great lesson. Dad, what'd you learn?
Well, quite a few things. You know, it all goes back to that loving your customers and listen, not and you know, putting the love on your customers. And when you love somebody, you listen to them, right? You hear what they're saying and you pay attention. You just nailed it, Kelly, when you said this store over here doesn't needs this item, needs a dress shirt. We need to modify our sales, our stock in that store. But this one over here doesn't. And that's because you're listening to your customers. Because if you love somebody, you know what? You listen to them. I mean, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So Kelly, what'd you learn?
Oh, you're gonna make them do two?
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna get off the hook.
Last time I looked, there's 2 people on that screen.
He said Kelly.
Man, I learned that stuff like this is incredible opportunity for everybody to grow, right? We talked about reaching out and learning from other folks. Obviously, Cam and I see the respect that you have for your dad and the lessons he taught you, and I've only known him a short time, but can understand what an incredible man he is and what a great guy he is, an entre leader. And so I would love to tie in with him and you guys and continue to learn more. And we're on different parts of the country, but we can share information that can both gain knowledge for our businesses, right? And this, my mom's never even thought about a business coach, right? So it's all new in her world. They never, never had that growing up and doing that type of stuff. So to me, that is something I really want to implement, into our business, is the coaching world, gaining that knowledge, because we're all not doing the same thing, but we can all learn lessons about how to better ourselves and our community just by learning and talking to other people.
That's awesome. Thanks. Michelle, wrap us up. Tell us, she's going to nail it. I'm not putting pressure on you.
Just a lot of pressure. I've learned that I'm not good under pressure. No, I guess I just learned that, we're all doing something different, but we all have something that we can relate to, and that's people. And it all just goes back to the people. If you're doing what you're supposed to and you're honest and you're being good to people, then they're going to be good back to you. And that would be my take.
That's great. Well, Moe's Boots. Tell us, Moe's Boots is where? Give us the locations again.
All right, so it's Moe's Boots, and we are located in Boone, North Carolina, and West Jefferson, North Carolina.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again. It's been real fun. And I didn't do our first ever husband and wife guest, so now I got to make that, because first ever husband and wife guest. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate
put a plaque
you.
up on the wall. On the wall.
No, well, I really appreciate it. It's interesting how life works, right? When we walked into that conference that day, we were focusing on and planning on learning and hearing from the speakers, and we learned a lot from that. But we also got to know you that first day, and Susanna, right? And we got to know other folks there. And my biggest takeaway from that was there's a lot of us out here that were struggling and going through a lot of things, but man, if we come together and talk about it, what a difference in the world, we can make. So I'm thankful I sat next to you that first day and got to meet you.
So am I. It was great fun. And I thought for sure you were going to say, and then this guy sits next to me kept distracting me while people were talking. Hey, thanks again, y'all. Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all again for listening to today's show. Special thanks to Kelly and Michelle Hardy for joining us today. And our sponsors, MASH, Military and Athletic Strength Hemp Oil, and Verbi Virtual Events. You can check out recent episodes of The Cam and Otis Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And check out a full archive at thecamandotisshow.buzzsprout.com. The Cam and Otis Show is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.